Hey guys, how you doing? This is Collin. I'm really glad to. I'm hoping to see you guys. As soon as possible, because I really miss you guys. And how are you guys dealing with quarantine? Are you guys watching a lot of movies, reading, playing a lot more video games? What do you guys have been doing? Because for me, I've been doing a lot of reading lately. I've always liked reading, and this quarantine has allowed me to read a lot more stuff that I would like to that I wouldn't have time for. And this video is about fairy tales, since we're talking about reading. Fairy tales are something as kids we've all read, or someone has read to us, whether it be a mom or dad, uncle, aunt, grandma, read you a fairy tale story before you go to sleep, or if you've ever read a fairy tale story in class, because fairy tales are really good stories, for young kids like you guys. And I feel like fairy tales are a really great way of kids understanding what happiness and what it could be like if everything goes right. uh, there's a lot of fairy tales that a lot of people have read, or even if you haven't gotten a chance, like Little Red Riding Hood, Cinderella, Jack and the Beanstalk, and the Wolf and the Seven Little Castles. That's definitely something that we've all, have read. Or if you haven't, those are really good fairy tale stories to read, because it's interesting. It has it's funny. Some of them are funny, and it's something really interesting that it kind of makes your mind. It allows you to express your creativity in writing something, because creativity is something that's important. Not the most important, but it's important. And even if you aren't creative, just creating something from your own idea or imagination is just no greater feeling than doing it. So this video is really about you writing a short fairy tale story, just something like maybe a paragraph or two, depending on however long you would like to make it. And since we're on the basically writing about a fairy tale story, we should also talk about what makes a great fairy tale story, what makes it a good fairy tale story. So me personally, I've never written a fairy tale story. I'm not a great story writer. I love reading stories. I love, reading about it, and but I'm not that great of a writer. But I'm sure you guys are definitely better than what I am, and that's fine. I actually appreciate people that can write and stuff like that. So, because writing is a skill that goes a long way in life, it's very important, just as much as reading. So, reading and writing could take you to places you've never thought you could go. So, what makes a great fairy tale story? Well, I would say the story, the plot, the settings, the characters, you know, and the villain. Yes, the villain. So, in my opinion, everyone has their own standard or bars to what make a great fairy tale. But for me, the story of the fairy tale is definitely important, because you want to get a sense of direction on what exactly you're going for when you're creating a story. Because as readers, we want to know exactly what the story is about, and why is the story the way it is. So the story is very important. The setting of the story, since it's a fairy tale, it could be a magical place. It could be a place you made up, a city, a state or country you made up, and the setting should be, something like impressive. Since it's your imagination, is bound to be impressive. It's bound to be something nice, because a good setting is what carries a story a long way too. Because when you figure out where the setting is at, you understand exactly where the characters are and what they're doing in that, you know, particular place. The characters, right? Having funny, good characters is really goes a long way for the story too. Because when you have characters that are just boring, they're like robots, it's not really entertaining. Me personally, I don't think that's entertaining if the characters don't have some personality in them. Like, you don't want to hang out with someone that's just, you know, that doesn't have any like, you know, this character, he just, you want to, most people want to be someone that could, make them laugh, or He's just got positive energy. You know, he just has positive energy, and he brings joy and and excitement and a lot of other things. So you want your characters to be like that, but there's got to be a balance between that and the characters that aren't as expressive or that lively, but they're just as positive. There's just different ways of expressing themselves. So characters are really important. The plot of a story, yes, the plot of a story is probably one of the most important because you got to understand what the plot is about. What are the characters doing? Why the characters are in that setting? The plot is really important, and I say a great plot makes a great story, fairy tale, essay, book. A plot is very important. And if the plot is interesting, sometimes the plot could carry what you lack in the characters and settings. So the plot is really important. And also, I would like to think about, of course, in the fairy tales, there's always happy endings. Of course, in the fairy tale, there's always happy endings. So, in fables, there aren't as much happy endings, but, usually the story has a moral lesson as something that you could take with it in life. So, as I was saying, back to fairy tales have good endings, or it doesn't have to necessarily have a happy ending. You decide how you want your fairy tale to be at the ending. But like I said, happy endings doesn't mean there isn't any situations, conflicts, or problems in the fairy tale. Because of course, to me, what makes a great story, regardless if it's a fairy tale, fable, or fiction, is an equally great villain. You have the great good guy and you have the bad guy. And if the bad guy is just as great then as the good guy, it makes the story 100 times better. It just makes the story exciting because the main character has a rival or a nemesis or something that he can go against and to achieve, that happy ending in the end of a fairy tale. So he has to overcome that great wall. That's a great lesson in itself, to overcome the problems you may have in life, and that you have to go through the problems by facing it head front instead of running away and hiding. So having a great villain is definitely one that makes a story or fairy tale memorable. It makes it long lasting. That's something you can go back, you could say years from now, you'll still remember that fairy tale and story because most times than not, you'll probably remember the villain more than the good guy because that was just how great the villain was. So that's just my take on creating a short fairy tale story. Like I said, fairy tales are something all kids would like to read and have read. So I just want to see if you guys could, create your own short story, create your own fictional fairy tale, and I would love to get a chance to see it or read it. And like I said, it's all about creativity. And even if you're not a creative person, just putting the effort and maybe reading some, fairy tales of your own could gather some inspiration so that you could create your own fairy tale story. And I just feel like I said, I've never written a fairy tale story. I've never written a story in my life, but that doesn't take away from me admiring and appreciating people that can. I feel like you guys can definitely do that. So, you guys are really creative. I've been with you guys firsthand. So, you guys are definitely up to the challenge of creating a fairy tale story. And I know you guys can do it. And I really can't wait to see how it all plays out. But, yeah, that's my take on fairy tale, and that's what I would like for you guys to do. And like I said, I hope you guys are safe right now in your house. You're not going out as much. You're washing your hands every time, please, because the coronavirus is very serious. And I hope you guys can all make it out and be safe. So enjoy the rest of your week. Be safe, and cherish the time with your families. Thank you. Bye.